Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MtG Traders. My name is Taryn, and this is Mono Black Control for Dominaria Standard. So if you guys follow me on Twitter and in the Facebook group for MtG Traders, you might have guessed that we would talk about control decks this week. That's right, this is an entire week of just control decks, starting with Mono Black aggro and moving on throughout the week from there. So if you like control decks, make sure to hit the like on the video if you like it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's jump right into it, guys, with Mono Black control, starting with our creature base. So our creature base is actually quite interesting because it looks like an aggro like Mono Black deck, but really you're kind of being more of a control heavy deck. So you have 4 Walking Ballista, which are the most expensive card in the actual deck list here. Of course it is, because it's Walking Ballista. We have 4 Gifted Aetherborn, 4 Dreadshade, 2 Gonti Lord of Luxury, and 2 Noxious Gearhulk. That's an interesting inclusion as well for us, thanks to more testing from me. So Walking Ballista, of course, being an XX00 creature, it enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it, so basically 2 mana for a 1/1, 4 mana for a 2/2, and you can pay for, put a +1/+1 counter on the Ballista, and remove those +1/+1 counters whenever we want to ping either our opponent's face, an opponent's creature, or, you know, an opponent's planeswalker. Ballista is a very, very good card for us, and a great way to kind of like keep the battlefield on our opponent's side of the field very low, thanks to killing Llanowar Elves, thanks to killing any kind of like Warkite Marauder and the Mono Blue Flyers, thanks to killing other Ballistas if they have a Ballista, or even just pinging our opponent's Planeswalker in the face, or them in the face too. Next up, to keep creatures away from our life total, we have Gifted Aetherborn here, a 2 black mana 2/3 Aetherborn Vampire with Death Touch, Lifelink. Very simple, very straightforward, but Gifted Aetherborn is a great creature for us to attack in, a great creature for us to block, and just a great creature overall, just super good value for just 2 mana. Moving up to a 3-drop slot is the Dreadshade, a 3 mana 3/3. This is a new card from Dominaria. You can pay 1 black and it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. A 3 mana 3/3 is kind of okay, but a 3 mana 3/3 becomes a 4/4 or 5/5 or 6/6 or 7/7 or even larger than that. The longer the match goes on means Dreadshade is a huge threat to your opponent's board state. I wish Dreadshade had trample, but it does not, sadly, but I do think this card is still very, very good against any other opponent's board state as long as they don't have Death Touch. And of course, going to the land bases, we'll definitely have ways of pumping land into Dreadshade as well. Next up here, we have Gonti Lord of Luxury. So sometimes, like, your cards just aren't enough. Sometimes you want to play your opponents, and Gonti Lord of Luxury is going to help you do that. A 4 mana 2/3 legendary creature, Aetherborn Rogue with Death Touch. Very good by itself there. When it enters the battlefield, choose the top 4 cards of target opponent's library, exile one of them face down, and put the rest of them on the bottom of the library in a random order. So that card you exiled face down, you can actually cast that whenever you want to, and use any kind of mana you want to cast that. So very, very useful for us. If an opponent is playing up against white and they're like doing Approach to the Second Sun, we can actually cast Approach to the Second Sun ourselves, which is funny. Or we can just do Settle the Wreckage, or any kind of thing like Seal Away or Cast Out, something like that, where an opponent has kind of like lockdown strategies or lockdown spells in their deck, and they're kind of wanting to use it against us, but let's say they play out a Planeswalker, well, we're going to cast that out because we actually grabbed that from their top deck. Gonti is a very annoying card to play against, and a very good card for us on our side of the field. So the last 2 creatures in here for the creature slot is Noxious Gearhulk. So a lot of decks of the Mono Black control variety are using Jozu Vess, the 4 mana 4/5 with Menace that you can kick for like 9 or 10 or something like that to make a bunch of like 2/2s. That card to me never did anything in testing. I don't know why people like that card right now in Standard. Like, if you get to where you have like 9 or 10 mana, like either the game is over or you're going to Torment of Hellfire. Like, those are the 2 options, you know. So I feel like Noxious Gearhulk is a little bit better for us, being able to kill a creature, gain us some life, as well as being a 5/4 with Menace, being able to have some sort of evasion against an opponent's game plan. So I may be saying something controversial there, I may not be, I don't really know, but Jozu Vess to me never did anything in testing other than just die or just be a 4/5 that blocked or something like that. So I like the 6 mana here, 5/4, because it can kill something when it hits the battlefield, as well as gain us some life too. But that is all the creatures in the list here. Let's go to the spells. We have Divest, Fatal Push, Cast Down, Torment of Hellfire, Vraska's Contempt, and Argyle's Bloodfast. Divest is basically our better Duress here, kind of, or actually it's a better Harsh Scrutiny. There we go. Divest is a 1 black mana sorcery. Target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose an artifact or creature card from it. That player discards that card. So with red-black vehicles being one of the best decks in that format at the moment, Divest is going to be one of the best turn 1 plays for us, being able to get rid of either a artifact or a creature from their hand. Very, very good. Fatal Push is here for those Toolcraft Exemplars, for another Walking Ballista, something like that, and the opponent has on the side of the field. A black mana instant, destroy target creature if it has converted mana cost 2 or less. With a Revolt, destroy that creature if it has converted mana cost 4 or less, instead of a opponent you controlled left the battlefield this turn. Fatal Push, again, one of the best removal spells in the format, and will be until rotation, which is around September, November. Cast Down is actually a new card for us from Dominaria, just like with Divest. A 2 mana instant, destroy target non-legendary creature. There's only 2 in here because opponents will have, you know, those legendary creatures like Ronas, which can be destroyed either way, or a creature like a Kari Zev, Skyship Raider, stuff like that, where it is a legendary creature. We can't kill it with a Cast Down, but we can get it with a Fatal Push or a Vraska's Contempt. However, if they have a giant bomb on their side of the field, like a Noxious Gearhulk or a Torrential Gearhulk, Cast Down can actually destroy that really easily. So you do want to keep that in mind for sure. Next up here we have Torment of Hellfire. This is our game-ending play here. An X and 2 black sorcery. Repeat the following process X times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless the player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card. So in the mid to late game, turn 5 or 6, you want to hopefully get into a Torment of Hellfire as quickly as you possibly can. Kind of wait till like turn 8 or 9, then cast Torment of Hellfire as a way to close out the match. If you didn't already win with the Dreadshade, you're definitely going to win with the Torment of Hellfire. Next, of course, we have 4 Vraska's Contempt. There are a lot of Planeswalkers and a lot of great creatures right now on the format, a lot of indestructible creatures, especially thanks to the gods. And Vraska's Contempt is going to help us deal with those. A 4 mana instant, exile target creature or Planeswalker, you gain 2 life. Again, the life gain not that great for us, but the point of playing this card is, of course, to exile a Planeswalker like a Teferi, a Chandra, or even the Karn Scion of Urza, that very, very expensive Planeswalker that's in the format at the moment. The last 2 cards in here for spells besides lands, of course, is Argyle's Bloodfast, an interesting card that I feel like is very much included in this deck that fits really nicely. You could use Ruin Raider or something like that as well in the deck list, but I think Argyle's Bloodfast is just fantastic for us. A 2 mana legendary enchantment. You can pay 2 mana, pay 2 life, and draw a card. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 5 or less life, you may transform Argyle's Bloodfast. So this is basically just pay 2 life, and draw a card up until basically you either get enough lands on the battlefield to go for a Torment of Hellfire, or you flip Argyle's Bloodfast and try and hopefully sack your board state to gain some life back. One of the biggest things for mono black control is that you kind of do stall in the mid to late game if you play out your entire hand, or if you have, you know, all your cards on the battlefield, something like that. So Argyle's Bloodfast can hopefully kind of help us kind of go from mid game to late game with some good card draw. But that is it for spells. Let's go on to the land base here really quickly. We have, of course, 20 basic lands. We need them for the Dreadshade there. 4 Cabal Stronghold. This is, of course, here for Noxious Gearhulk, the Dreadshade, things like that to help pump them. 1 Field of Ruin and 1 Scavenger Grounds. 1 of each there because we really do need that black mana. Stronghold's coming in. It's tapping for black mana, or we can pay 3 and tap it. Add black for each swamp you control. I really like this a lot, especially because of the Torment of Hellfire for sure. It can actually give you more lands than you actually realize you can have. It can help you kind of like ramp your Torment of Hellfire into a just back-breaking spell. Field of Ruin, of course, is here for those Legion's landing flips, Ascanta flips, and even Argyle's Bloodfast flip against the Mirror Match, and Scavenger Grounds is here to deal with those Godfell's Gift strategies. But that is it for the Game 1 game plan. Let's go on to the sideboard here, starting with Moment of Craving, Doomfall, Golden Demise, Locke's Legacy, 1 Josephus, because I did want to represent just 1, Rite of Bells Unlocked, then Demon Lord Bells Unlocked, and then 2 Never to Return. Moment of Craving is here just for those early game removal, as well as gaining some extra life. So if we're up against a mono red aggro or another aggro strategy like a mono blue flyers, Moment of Craving is coming in probably over a cast down because we know that a -2/-2 can mostly kill their entire board. It's going to gain us 2 life, so that's very good for us. Up here is Doomfall as well, a 3 mana sorcery. Target opponent exiles a creature he or she controls, so we might board this in against a mono green stompy deck where they have like Ronas the Indomitable, or maybe even like a Carnage Tyrant. But it's also very good because target opponent can reveal his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from it and exile that card. So if an opponent is playing like an approach strategy, we probably want to board in a Doomfall as well. Keeping in line with battling other strategies, we have Golden Demise here to help a token-based strategy. A 3 mana sorcery with Ascend. More often than not, we're not going to hit Ascend with this particular card, so all creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. If you have the City's Blessing instead, only creatures your opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn. So Ascend is not really our priority with Golden Demise, but getting -2 on the entire board is very, very good for us. I thought about Yihang's Expertise in this slot, but I do think Golden Demise is just cheap enough to where it can actually board wipe an entire token-based strategy. Next, of course, to represent the approach strategy is 2 Lost Legacy. Esper Approach and Blue-White Approach are still pretty heavily involved in the format right now, or in the meta. So Lost Legacy is here for us. A 3 mana sorcery. Name a non-artifact, non-land card. Search target player's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with that name, and exile them. That player shuffles his or her library, then draws a card for each card exiled from their hand this way. So Lost Legacy is very, very useful for us. And if we're going up against the approach strategy, we want to name 1 for Mastermind's Acquisition and 1 for Lost Legacy. see if it's the Esper approach strategy. Josie Vest is also here to kind of represent like, hey, we can get this if we're up against a slower deck. So 4 mana 4/5 with a Menace, or we can kick it for 6. So this makes it a 10 mana 4/5. But if we do kick it, it comes in and creates 8 2/2 black zombie creature tokens with Menace. Well, I do think this is a very flavorful and fun way to win a match. Josie Vest is one of those slower strategies that I feel like might not hit its mark absolutely. So I do think if you want to board this into the main board, definitely go for it if you want to have some fun. But just getting that 10 mana is very difficult, even with the Cabal Strongholds in the actual main board. The Strongholds are really there for us for that Torment of Hellfire mid to late game. Next up here to combat a token-based strategy or a go-wide strategy, we have Rite of Bells and Luck here, a 4 mana enchantment saga. Chapter 1 and 2 create 2 0/1 black cleric creature tokens, and Chapter 3 create a 6/6 demon creature token with flying, trample, and at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice another creature. If you can't do this, it deals 6 damage to you. Very, very good card for us, basically creating a very wide board state as well as giving us a 6/6 flyer with trample to be able to close out the match. I like this card a ton. It's a very, very good card for us, and kind of decent for us if we have a Gifted Aetherborn on the battlefield, you know, losing us 4 life if we can't sacrifice a creature after that turn. And moving on to the next creature here, we have our next bomb, a 6 mana 6/6 flying trampler, Demon Lord Bells and Luck, legendary creature, Elder Demon. When it enters the battlefield, exile cards from the top of your library and to exile a non-land card, then put that card into your hand. If the card's converted mana cost is 4 or greater, repeat this process. Demon Lord Bells and Luck deals 1 damage to you for each card put into your hand this way. Basically, this is just going to be a 6 mana 6/6 flying trampler. That's going to be the primary goal of this card. Getting into a Vraska's Contempt and repeating something else is quite good too. But this is going to be combating especially the mono blue flyers deck, the mono white deck that's going around right now, as well as just the Lyra Dawnbringer decks. Demon Lord Bells and Luck can lock that crap down. And the last 2 cards in here are Never to Return. So there are some Super Friends decks going around, and Never to Return is going to help us kind of deal with those decks. A 3 mana sorcery, destroy target creature or planeswalker, and then a 4 mana sorcery, exile a target card from a graveyard, and then create a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. So pretty good for us, actually, being able to get rid of a Scarab God and then exiling it from the graveyard. If you can do that all in the same turn, that's fantastic. So from the look of it, we actually have a very, very wide and very unique and structured sideboard that can actually deal with very different types of opponents in different ways. I really do think black right now is in a very strong position, and I do think this mono black control deck has probably a place somewhere in a Pro Tour winning streak sometime soon. But let's go on to the actual deck list here and see how much this is going to cost us. On MtG Traders, if you want to build this in tickets, it's going to be 179 bucks. Of course, the most expensive card in the deck list here is Walking Ballista at like 133 tickets. Everything else is, you know, like a ticket and a half or a couple tickets. If you want to build this in paper, it's coming to about $240 as well. The most expensive cards, again, in paper are, of course, Walking Ballista, Fatal Push, and Vraska's Contempt. Cabal Stronghold and Gifted Aetherborn are actually coming up in price a little bit as well. But I do think that, of course, the most expensive card in here is that Walking Ballista. Just a super pricey card overall. But that is the deck for Mono Black Control. Let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you have any suggestions for it in the comments down below? Let me know. And of course, we have more control decks coming out this entire week. But if you have a deck that you want me to cover in the future, please let me know down there in the comments below. Would love to cover it. And if you don't already know, I stream all of these decks on Twitch on my own personal Twitch on twitch.tv/SuperHinotama. I stream there every single weekday, 10 AM Central Standard Time, so catch me if you want. Or if you want to see the VODs, you can actually go to my Twitch channel as well and see those. But that's going to wrap up this video, guys. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.